Hi everyone, welcome out to the Dice Tower. My name is Chris Yee.
I'm Joey Evans.
Today we're taking a look at this game from Pandasaurus here, Emerge. This is designed by Adam DeYoung, and it has a very cool little art style to it.
Art Deco style? Is that a word?
Yes, that is a word.
Does it fit this?
Absolutely not.
I felt really fancy using that word.
Yeah.
It's not that?
There's not even decks of cards. You can't even, like, say that it was a double entendre.
I gotta Google Art Deco later, see what that is.
You should.
right.
Yes, it's a dice game about discovering islands and the wildlife that lie therein. So I'm going to show you how this one plays, and then we'll give you our thoughts. Here's how Emerge looks on the table. In the center of the table, you'll notice a long board here. That's kind of the central area where we're discovering islands and animals. Down here is your personal player board, an area where you're going to be rolling dice out and activating these 6 different actions. Everybody has different piles of islands that they're going to be growing out here. And then, of course, the different meeples representing plant life and animals that you'll be putting out. At the start of each round, players are going to roll any of their dice. You might have some unused dice from a previous round. You can either leave them there or choose to re-roll them. You're going to place out these dice into the different action slots here, matching the numbers that you rolled. And then from there, you're going to be taking actions. The 6 different actions are very simple. You can either put plants out onto an island that you already have out on the board. To do so, you spend 1 die for the first plant that you'll put out, 2 dice if you're putting the second plant on an island, and 3 dice if you're going to do the third one there. Islands can have a max of 4 dice. We'll cover that mysterious 4th one in a second. Here with the crab action, you can spend 2 dice to place out a crab, the smallest animal life that there is, and they have to go onto an island where there's already a plant. If you spend 3 dice on the turtle action, then you can put out a turtle representing slightly larger life, and that has to go on an island where there's already a crab. For 4 dice, you can put out a seal meeple, and that has to go where there's already a turtle. The 5th action here is to put out either new islands for 2 dice, or to grow a small island into a medium-sized island, or a medium one to a large island, each costing more dice. And then lastly, with birds here, 2 dice, you can attract a bird over from the beach, who is going to also bring with it a plant, which is how you can get a 4th plant there. Or for 3 dice of the bird action, you can take a bird from a different player or one of your islands and move it to another island that you've discovered, it bringing with it the seeds that will cause a plant. Now, anytime that you discover new islands out here, you get to flip these bonus tiles and place it next to you. Or, after you have spent several of your dice doing actions, you can spend any 2 dice that you want, even mismatching ones, to grab one of these 3 face-up specialty bonus tiles. And these will all allow you to do different things that have special powers to them. When you move a bird, it's going to plant 2 plants instead of 1. You can place a turtle out for any 2 dice, not necessarily 3s. Now, the best part of this game is the control. The control comes at the start of each round, right before you roll the dice. You are allowed to upgrade some of your action slots, so you can take any of these face-up action tiles up here and cover up an action. Maybe I won't need the seals for a while at the start of the game, but I definitely want plants. So I'm allowed to grab one of these and overlay it. Now my 1s and my 4s all count as plant action dice. So if I wanted to put a second plant out here, I could spend a 1 and a 4 as 2 plant action dice and put the plant out there. You'll notice there's also a little bit of mitigation on every one of these tiles here that says, for example, add 1 or 2 to a die. So as I have dice out here on my board, if I really want to change this 5 into a 6, I could flip this over, and it still counts as being a plant action, but I could rotate this 5 up to a 6, and now I have 2 action dice to do with birds. Each round of the game, over which there are 8, you can add these onto your board and cover up different slots. You can remove them from your board at the start of each round. You also refresh them so you have them accessible each round, or you can even rearrange them so that you have more access to specific actions, or you change up which things you've covered up. Every one of the 8 rounds, this sailboat will move, and that'll keep track of it. At the end of the 8 rounds, you're going to score up. Anything that you have these tiles that are unspent or points, all of your islands, you're going to multiply the number of levels. So in this case, this is a medium-sized island, a small and a medium. multiply it by the number of animal and plant meeples on there, including birds if you still have it, and then you'll score up points for all 4 of your islands. There are also immediate goals that you can earn throughout the game. You'll have a few of these set up at random, and so you'll only have one of the 2 plant ones or one of the 2 bird ones. You'll have a few of these set up to 4 of them. When you complete the objective here, if you're the first person to do it, you just cover this up, and you're going to get that many points at the end of the game. So maybe trying to have lots of plants on different islands, maybe stealing 2 birds in the same round, maybe being the first person to place a seal onto an island, or to have seals on 2 different islands. And so this is going to create a little variability from game to game. So that is Emerge. All right, so the first thing for me that pops out about this game,
Yep.
I think it looks gorgeous.
I agree.
I think that it has a very nice art style.
Deco.
Yes. And it's got that big long board in the middle, and the longness of the board catches people off guard.
It really does. It kind of keeps going. You're like, ooh, gotta move some stuff.
Right.
They're gonna put it down there. Yeah, it does.
But I think it's really well done because it's also the timer of the game. At the start of each round, you move that boat to the number 1 space. The
Right.
8 rounds, people can see it. People know exactly where the progress is. I think it's well done. And you flip over those little discovery tiles as it's moving along. And so if you build on a place that has the discovery tile, you get that. You get like a little special power. You know, I think that the art, the direction, all that works well together.
I have liked that, I don't know if it's a mechanic because it's not really, I've liked that timer system more and more in the more games I see it, where you can visually see how soon the game is coming to an end. Raua had it, more recently, how you just ran the board. And anything that you have it, that you just keep going forward and you visually can see, I got to hurry up, I got to either get this engine built and fire it up or what. So I do like that.
Well, and then also there are spots on the board where it says add a dice. Every time you move that, past that, you get some more dice because you're doing your dice actions there. So overall, it looks cool. And it's also one of those very photogenic games where at the end, you have some small, some big, some medium islands and different numbers of animals on there. Looks cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting as far as like it's a slow build. I think when you start with a smaller pool of die, and it all depends on your rolls. And there's also limited things you can do too, right? So you want to make sure you roll those right combinations to be able to put, I think, either a tree on your first island or start to get more islands up there. And I do like that. But as you start getting more of the abilities, I'm not sure what they call the powers there, and then also you get to place what do they call the ones you actually place on top to cover your bird? You have 2 birds or whatever.
Yeah, the tiles. The action tiles.
Actually, I do like those because that really can start gearing those into what phase you're going into and what you want to get. So I do like how it kind of builds as you can do more and more as the game progresses.
Well, and you can kind of customize, your pool of actions. You're like, I don't really care about trees for a while. Cover up the tree action.
Right.
If I need it, I will pull it off later, or I'll just get a tree tile and cover up the seagulls because I'm done with the seagulls for a while.
Yep.
And so you have this nice, funny little control over how the dice work. Now, it's still dice roll at the start of each round.
Right.
But then the more tiles that you have overlaying the actions, they have built-in mitigation systems on them.
That's a big thing because when you have to forego grabbing a tile to rearrange your stuff, it's good because you get to, although you did cover this, you're going to now need it, so you need to free it up. You're not getting a tile because even if you take a tile and place it to where it's supposed to go, that mitigation is really nice to be able to use. Whether it's add 1 or subtract 1, you're not getting that extra ability.
And it's funny because I think that the tiles that have the more enticing actions, especially as the game goes on, the abilities on them, like the little mitigation abilities, are good, but they're not as good. They're like re-roll the die once or twice. You're like, ooh, that's not as good as being able to have a guaranteed plus or minus 1. Because that's huge to be able to say, I need this 4 to be a 5. I can guarantee it.
I like that. Yeah. You mean as far as having to get rid of the die and then turn it to the exact side that you want?
There's some of that.
Yeah, that's big.
And so I think that one of the things that people will say, though, is do you think there's enough mitigation if you have a bad die roll?
There's never enough mitigation, I don't think. There is a lot. You can do a lot, and also the circular tiles. I don't know what the word is for them.
Discovery tiles.
The discovery tiles, whatever.
Yeah.
I do like those, but then later in the game, you're going to see different discovery tiles pop up that you no longer need. Where there's you can get 2 crabs. You're like, well, I'm already full if I've got my 4 islands out with crabs on there. So there's that towards the end. At the middle, it seems like you have pretty much a beginning, limited options. Middle, you have unlimited options, and towards the end, you're very limited again, which I think gives a good circle to the game. Because I kind of wish, and then also we haven't talked about the objectives too. I really like the different objectives that come out. Focusing on those, whether it's not, I think build 2 crabs in the same turn or whatever, and different things like that. I do like hitting those objectives and the different layers of complexity, like there are different avenues. Do you want to focus on these objectives? Do you want to start building up those islands before you start placing things on it because you want to get those multipliers? Do you really get a couple of islands that are just fully built, or do you kind of disperse yourself? I like games that give you those different avenues to get those points.
And speaking of different avenues, one of the things, like going back to my a thought about like the dice rolls and stuff.
Yeah.
You can buy, there's like that market of those tiles, the discovery tiles. You can spend any 2 dice to get one.
I like that.
So a bad die roll, I think you can still work around it with different avenues. You can either buy those discovery tiles, so that next round, hey, any 2 tiles guaranteed you get a turtle, or any 2 dice you guarantee get a turtle.
Right.
That's really useful when you said, I need a turtle to complete those objectives. I need a turtle to grow the island because I have everything ready for a seal. And the other thing is that you can also leave dice locked on your board. If you don't spend them, they sit there, and guess what? You have a bunch of 3s, and you're like, I don't need turtles right now. You can just change the 3 to be a different action.
Yes.
I love that. I love that so much.
I do too. And also I like the bird mechanic thing too, because if you pull him to your island too soon, you need him to leave because he's the only way you can get that 4th tree. Or one of the main ways you can get the 4th tree. So it's like you steal a bird, you're like, okay, good, so I can steal him back and he can bring a tree with me. Yeah.
Even when someone, one of the few times in the game that someone takes a thing from you,
right,
you're like, okay, darn it, that's 1 multiplier at the end of the game I don't have, but I can get it back.
Yes.
And it brings the seeds. I'm all about it.
Right. Yeah, so, and I mean, it's fun. I really enjoy the cascading thing of how the islands get bigger and bigger. And they do look nice. It is a very good photo moment at the end when you create that.
Yeah, I think that some people will still be frustrated by the dice. I'm not. I think that there's enough other workarounds and stuff. But I've played this with people who have said, they feel like that there's just not enough going on with that. And so, I don't know, I bring that up because I don't agree with it necessarily, but we've heard that, we've seen that.
Yeah.
Most of the people I teach it to tend to really just kind of be enamored with it.
It is. Yeah, same here, and I really like it.
Yeah. So score-wise, score and final thoughts?
Yep, score-wise, I would come in at 7.5 for this. I really do enjoy it. I think it's on the probably middle, maybe lighter to middleweight game. But again, I like games that have dice in there, especially if they have some mitigation. And this does have a lot of mitigation towards the middle and the end. At the beginning, not as much mitigation, but you can, like Chris said, use those die for something else to start building your engine, to go ahead and get those discovery tiles, to start using them or getting ready for the next round. And you do visually see, I'm about to have more and more dice, so I'm going to have a lot more and more to do. So I really like that. I think the artwork is great. I think the idea of kind of building those islands and doing them piece by piece, trees got to be first, and then you slowly go up from animals from there. I really like that. I think it feels good, and I think it comes to a good crescendo at the end when you get to see all the islands you've created. I like it.
This is a really cool game. It's an 8 for me because I like pretty much every aspect about it. I like the dice. I like the way that you mitigate the dice. I like the player board. It has slots for you to place the dice onto. It sequences the actions in a way that are very logical, right? What you talk about. You need a plant before you can get a crab, before you can get a turtle, before you can get a seal. And thematically, I like that. It's not rich in theme,
right?
But it is thematic enough. Your island needs to support small animal life before it can support larger animal life. I find those little moments they feel fun. You bring the bird, it brings a tree. Like that it brings a seed that becomes a tree. Right. It's a little mathematical near the end, as you're sitting there, kind of okay. Well, if I grow this island, that I'm getting 6 meeples times 1 more. Okay, right? Like that's that. And I think the other little complaint I have is that every time I've taught it, it's confusing the way that you can grab upgrades, because you can always discard any number of those upgrade tiles or the action tiles. Then you can either grab a new one or rearrange them, and I don't know exactly why. Like it clicks, but then halfway through the game, someone goes, "Okay, run me through that one more time." I think that it's worth that hiccup in the rules teach. It's worth that little bit of hiccup because I think it's a great mitigation mechanism. But I noticed that people seem to struggle with that little clunkiness of that rules every time. That being said, I still find it worth it. So an 8 for me. That's a seal of approval from the both of us here.
Yep.
For Emerge from Pandasaurus Games.
Really good.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot. Plus, like I said, it looks great. So there you go. That's our thoughts there. Thanks for coming to this Dice Tower review. My name's Chris Yee.
I'm Joy Evans.
Hope that you find your flock of seagulls.
It's a music reference.